we have heard plenty of reports of behind the scenes going on with Marvel Studios and many of the actors. The latest is something related to Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame, and how one of the leads, Robert Downey Jr., aka Iron Man himself, kept himself very private, had a strange demand, and more or less didn't interact with the rest of the cast. So this comes at us from MCU, The Reign of Marvel Studios, and the book details some of the going on behind the scenes, obviously how the actors were getting along and things that were happening, and the production of various films. Specifically, they talk a little bit about visiting the set of Avengers Endgame and some of the strange things that were there. For example, Robert Downey Jr. requested that the entire set, when he was on it, be regulated to a cool temperature that was described as ice cold in the studio because that's how he liked it and he liked to work. And this was made without obviously much fuss because he's the biggest paid star they had. On top of this, he would frequently, when it wasn't his turn to be on set, separate himself from the rest of the actors, even when they were all together. He had his own trailer that he would spend most of his time in, and when others were hanging out, for example, Scarlett Johansson, Chris Evans, Mark Ruffalo, Chris Hemsworth, all the stars, he wouldn't interact much with them. They would be doing their thing, they would be having fun, they would be chilling together, they would be hanging out. He was separated from them and tried to keep more or less to himself. It's described that he was, and I quote, off in his own world, end quote. Now, it's not really surprising, I don't think. Robert Downey Jr.'s always, if you looked at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and everything, always seems to be a little bit on the outside. And obviously, many of the other actors in the film were much younger as well. And you could just see how their energy wasn't really the same energy that he has. So I don't really blame him. This is one of those things you hear about frequently. It's like, oh, wow, this actor who's part of this giant ensemble. Turns out he's not really friends with any of the actors. I mean, again, I'll just relate it to professional wrestling because I do that a lot. There's tons of the best tag teams out there of all time. And those people were barely even friends. They were just doing their job. Oh, you want to be in a tag team? Sure, we're on a tag team together. But outside of that, not really much. So it's another scenario like that. It was a job to Robert Downey Jr. and he wasn't there to make friends, which, again, that's kind of Hollywood, right?